Do you tip on carryout?
I do. Can I tell you something? I think this would have steamed you up for sure. I got takeout from my daughter's favorite restaurant.
Okay. You don't tell me the restaurant. What kind of food?
It's pasta.
So you're getting pasta?
Yeah, and the dude goes, okay, here's your order, and he hands me the, oh, I love the rat, the worm at the end. He hands me the bag, and then he hands me the card reader, and I go to press OK, and then he goes, oh, wait, I forgot something, and then I watch him, like, X out the order, and then start the process again, but hit 10% on the tip option, and then hand it back to me. I just ate it. I was like, I'm not gonna cause a fuss here because I know I'm gonna be back here anyway because it's my kid's favorite restaurant. But I think a lot of people would have put up a real stink for sure.
So if there was no recompense, not recompense, but like if you were never going back to that restaurant,
yeah,
what would IRL Ryan have said?
I probably would have just eaten it still. But then I would have like lit him up on Google reviews or something.
I mean, let me ask you, if he would have handed you, said, would you like to leave a tip, sir? You probably would have left more than 10%.
I always tip on carryout. Yeah. You know, and this is like, I don't want to make myself look like too much of a hero, but especially ever since the pandemic, I was like, you know, restaurants are getting bent over the barrel here, and my business did just fine during the pandemic, so I consider it like a little surplus, like maybe today you, tomorrow me. But then for them to just assume and put the tip on top of it, I thought it was a little bit, I don't even know how to describe it. Garish, a little garish.
I feel the same. Like I felt like before the pandemic, I don't feel like I ever felt compelled to tip on takeout because you know I just didn't. But then after, I'm like, there was like a huge social shift of like, all right, like I don't know, I felt like pressure, but I'm like, oh, like I kind of felt the same way. I'm like, look, if this restaurant survived, it's like, all right, let me make sure they survive the next one.
Yeah, and also like tipping discourse is so weird. Like the way I see it is it's disingenuous to tip eating in and not tip eating out, because like I don't pay for them to bring the plate to my table. It's like, oh, all the stuff you did in the back and then putting it on the window to send, and then the bing bing and the bing bing and then bringing it out and then stuff like that stuff is not the reason I tip, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. The reason I tip is just because tipping is what you do. It's not, which is messed up in and of itself, but I tip because of social convention. It's not like, oh, I only tip if I sat in a booth. If I had to take it out and eat it in my car like a scumbag, then you don't deserve my tip. I consider that to be like jumping through intellectual hoops. I think there's some cognitive dissonance there.
Well, here's what me and Jack got into a little bit of a disagreement. People are like, tips aren't commission. I'm like, yes, it is, because I go, if you were a server and I asked you, hey, is the salmon or the steak, what's better? I'm like, do most servers automatically recommend what's more expensive? Because I would think, because they're on commission. And chat's like, no, tips aren't commission. I'm like, what? They are. Because
you assumed that they would be like an agent of the restaurant trying to funnel you towards something a little more expensive.
Because, like, say that salmon's 20 and the steak's 40, their tip is going to be higher on the steak, and I get it.
True.
So that's why I'm like, because I asked a waitress yesterday, I'm like, which of these two are better? I would just, in my head, I'm like, she's going to say what's more expensive.
And what did she say?
I don't know. I went with something other than the two she recommended.
Oh, you're one of those guys? Hey, what's better, the steak or the salmon? I'd say the steak. All right, I'll have the chicken marsala, please.
No, I always ask, if I go to a new restaurant, I'm like, what is your number one best thing? And if you don't give me like one answer, if you give me, well, it depends on what you're in the mood for, then I don't go with what they recommend. I just want like, yeah.
I never feel like a server is trying to upsell me on food, but I feel like there are things that a server can do to make the bill bigger. The easiest one is to just come around and be like, would you like a refill on that? If they ask me 6 times, one of those 6 times, I'm going to be like, you know what? Sure.
I'm with you.
Toss another $17 pint of Bud Light onto the bill. That would hit the spot.
To me, the golden standard of a great waiter or waitress is, and it's also, I'm like not picky at all. Like I'm easygoing, but if I'm having like my 2 hours a week, not to be sad, but if I'm on my date night, away from kids for the week, and I'm in an in-depth conversation with my wife, and you interrupt and be like, hey, would you like some jalapeno poppers? I'm just like, I internally I hit him with the Ryan Gary. I don't do it out loud, but the server that walks by sees us in an in-depth conversation, walks by, I see them walk by, I give them a nod, I'm like, okay, your tip just went through the moon, you know?
But I feel like, you know what's crazy is that you would think that that would be, because I feel the same way. Like the less I'm bothered, the happier I am. But there are a lot of people who are like, oh, my water has been almost out for 3 times the waitress walked by our table. She's not getting a tip. Like there's people that want to be like doted on at the Olive Garden hand and foot for whatever reason.